Alrighty, so to begin, you're going to need 1mm, 3mm, and 5mm craft foam, a craft knife or X-Acto knife, painters or scotch tape, and glue. I use cement glue, and I recommend you do as well. You're also going to need some Sharpies. Additionally, some 1.5-inch elastic strap and a 6 to 8-inch zipper would also help, but I'll explain later when we get to those areas. Begin by cutting out all of the paper patterns. Next, we need to tape together a few pieces using the X marks to line them up. K1 and K2 will be taped together into a larger K piece. J1, J2, and J3 will also be taped together into a larger J piece. And lastly, D1 and D2 will be taped together into a larger D piece. Next, go ahead and draw out all of the paper patterns onto their correct foam thicknesses. You're also going to need to mark down the letter designation as well as the cutting lines, those checkered lines along most of the pieces. If you don't have 3mm foam on hand, just double up on 1mm foam like I'm doing here. Next, you can cut out the foam pieces. Edges with line markers indicate that you need to cut away from the shape at about 45 degrees. This creates an extended face. Edges with dotted guides indicate that you need to cut into the shape at about 45 degrees. This creates an inverted face. To begin building, find the two A pieces and apply glue along this longer edge, as well as the two edges in the gap in each piece here. Once the glue is set, push together the two A pieces like so along the center. The two pieces will begin to curve inward or outward, and that is on purpose. Make sure it curves outward so that the letter designations are popping out. After the two A pieces are connected, push together the two gaps in each A piece to complete the shoulder. Alright, now we're going to find the two B pieces. Aligning them the way I am here, along the bottom of piece A, mark how far up they go along the bottom of piece A on either side. Now apply glue along the bottom of piece A where we just marked, as well as the inner edges of both B pieces here. Once the glue is set, using the center seam of piece A, place B along the edges of piece A like so. Do so for both B pieces. The bottom of the B pieces will also curve, as you can see here, which is on purpose, but make sure that they curve outward. This next sequence can be a bit complex, so just take your time. Don't be afraid to pause the video to make sure you have things placed correctly. Using a marker, piece C1 should curve around the center seam of piece A like so. Leaving a slight gap between them, C2 goes to the left of C1 here. And C3 should go to the left of C2 and skirt the edge of piece A, as you can see here. Now apply glue to these marked out areas and the bottom, the flat and uncut face, of each of the C pieces previously mentioned. Once the glue is set, place the C pieces into their respective places. We're going to do the same steps for the next C pieces, so follow along. C4 should sit next to C1 here, and C5 and 6 should wrap around C4. Once you have all of the C pieces glued to piece A, the shoulder pad is complete, but quickly place a star or obvious mark next to or on C6 to indicate the front of the shoulder is, or where your chest is going to be closest to it. Now we're going to move on to the upper arm. The one I'm about to make is for a left arm. This part is pretty simple, but take all the time you need. Using a marker, mark out onto piece D that piece H goes into this elbow area. Piece G goes above and to the right of piece H. Piece F goes to the upper left next to piece G here. Make sure there's a gap between the pieces like I'm marking out. For piece E, go to the far end of piece D and follow the side edge like I'm doing here. Finally, piece I should sit along this bottom tail of piece E and above it, like I'm doing here. Once you've marked out all these areas, apply glue to the marked areas and the bottoms of all the recent pieces besides piece D. Once the glue is set, place all the pieces onto their respective areas on piece D. Now for pieces X1 and X2, these are meant to allow the upper arm piece to curve around your own arm. However, instead of using craft foam, you can use elastic strap, which is what I would suggest, and it would make for a more comfortable fit. However, this is up to you. If you're going to use the foam, follow these instructions. Using the curve on each piece, mark out where X1 and X2 will sit on the side curves of piece D, like I'm doing here. Apply glue to these marked edges and the curved edges of X1 and X2. Once the glue is set, attach X1 and X2 to piece D and repeat the steps for the other sides to complete these wraps. Next, we're going to fit the upper arm and shoulder pieces together. Dry fit the upper arm and shoulder pieces like I'm doing here, and using the V curve in the upper arm, mark out where the upper arm sits on the shoulder piece. Apply glue to the edge of this marked area on the shoulder, as well as the V-curve edge of the upper arm here. Once the glue is set, push the two pieces together. You may need to pinch each one to get a better fit. Now we're going to flip this piece over entirely. Find piece M and place it along the seam between the upper arm and the shoulder pieces here, and mark out along the edges of piece M. Then apply glue to this area, as well as to an entire face of piece M. Once the glue is set, place piece M along this marked area, which will now reinforce the joint between shoulder and upper arm. Finally, let's build the forearm piece. Find piece J and K and apply glue along those two long edges, as well as the edges of the gap in piece J. Once the glue is set, push together pieces J and K. There will be a slight curve to them, which is supposed to happen, so don't fight it. Next, push together the gap in piece J. Now this gauntlet piece is made with a zipper or elastic strap between the two here. However, how you combine the two and have it wrap around your arm is completely up to you and what feels more comfortable. I recommend a zipper. Now this next part can be a bit confusing, so pause the video to make sure you get the placements correct. Start with L1. Mark out where the following pieces will go. L1 should sit right on the seam of the gap in piece J here. L2 will go to the left of L1 like so. L3 will be set slightly below and to the right of piece L2, and L4 will mirror L3 but on the left side of L2. Apply glue to these marked areas as well as the bottom faces of L1, 2, 3, and L4. Once the glue is set, place these L pieces in their respective zones. Now, L5 should go to the left of L4 and crisscross the center seam between pieces J and K here. The subsequent L6 and L7 pieces simply go to the left of the previous piece, as you can see here. Apply glue to these marked areas as well as the bottom of faces L5 and L6 and L7. Once the glue is set, place these L pieces in their respective marked zones. With respect to the additional zipper or elastic strap that you may need to attach, you've now completed the Hellpriest arm pattern tutorial. Hope you enjoyed the template as well as the tutorial. See you next time. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more cosplay content.